as they jump in, we'll go ahead and say hi to them and all that, and just make sure that they're also part of the conversation. So for those of you who do not know me, my name is Jennifer, and I'm one of the co-leaders for the state advocacy chapter. And Norma, who's the other co-leader, has is going to be joining us a little bit later, so I'll get us off the ground for the meeting today. We also have some more folks here that are part of our advocacy chapter. So if you could do a little reaction. If you don't know about the reactions, they're down at your bottom. So we know who you are, and we say hello to you. But also all of you who are part of this meeting are part of the advocacy chapter. So I really thank you all for being here with us. So with that, oh, great, Heather, you'll be relaxing this weekend. Thank you for sharing. And for those of you who haven't had a chance to share, please, feel free to put into the chat your name, where you're from, and as well as what you plan on doing this weekend. So of course, we'll go ahead and start with our welcome and introductions. So not last week, this was about 2 weeks ago, we had the 2001 NAYC Public Policy Forum. And I know there's a few faces that I see here who participated. So, at one point, I would love for one of you, at least, just because of the time that we have, if not, you can type into the chat your experience of being part of the policy forum. What was that like for you? What is the highlight that you took from there? And how have you put some of those, what you've experienced at the policy forum, into action in either your personal or professional lives? Then Holly is gonna, I think Erin's not with us, right, Holly?
That is
No,
correct.
okay.
She had an
Right.
unfortunate death in her family.
Okay, that's right. Thank you for reminding me, and we'll keep her in our thoughts and her family. So Holly's going to go ahead and share with us some updates on the Florida public policy legislations, what that looks like at the moment, and some call to actions. Then really we'll begin our session together. We're going to reflect on February's meeting. For those of you who did not have the opportunity to join us in February, we were talking about racial equity in early childhood education and how that aligns with our advocacy efforts. Very, very powerful and moving session. So for those of you who didn't get the chance to see that, I know it was recorded. Holly, is that correct? Yeah, so it was recorded, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but is it available for people to see? Or
Yes, in fact, I'll while you're talking, I'll pull that link up and then give it to you so that we can send it out as a follow-up as well.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Holly. So if you didn't get the chance to see that, and if you did, it's always great to go back and reflect and see, what else you can get out of those conversations. Because as we mentioned, these aren't one-off conversations. These are ever-evolving conversations that we continuously need to have, especially in our field of early childhood. That's where everything begins for our children. Then we're going to speak about the Race of Resilience. If you haven't heard about it, it's a fun event that we're going to be having during the week of the young child, and Holly's going to share more about that. And then we'll be getting into really what does advocacy mean to you, and beginning to reclaim our narrative, changing our narrative. As you all know, early childhood, while has let me restate this. Because I always get hung up on this. As we know, early childhood has had some sort of stereotype, which is early childhood means babysitting. And as we know, early childhood is not babysitting. We are developing cognition, we are developing social skills, we're developing the future. So really starting to look at, how we can use our own personal narrative, our why, as to why we're in this field, not just, oh, because I love it, or I want to make a difference, but really getting deep into the root of why we do this. What was that impactful story that just made you say and drives you to you know what, this is why I do this. And I'll share personally also what is it that drives me. And then we'll break out into groups, just to have a little chit chat, share our ideas, share your narrative. And then we'll come back together as a whole to complete our day together. Well, our night, should I say. So that's what we have on the agenda. Any questions? Just want to check in with anyone. Everyone good? Give me a thumbs up if, all is well. Awesome. All right. So Holly, take it away.
Okay, well, thanks everyone. As she mentioned, Erin is not with us today. She is with her family where she should be after experiencing what she's dealing with. So I am gonna stop sharing this screen and I'm actually gonna share a different screen because we do have a few updates that we want to go over with you. Ignore what first pops up on the screen and I'm going to take you to this page. Hopefully feel free to zoom in for anything that you might need, but basically on our website, the FLACY website, under public policy and advocacy, if you hover over that, you'll see a drop down menu, and if you go to bill tracker and information and click that, it's going to show you this page. This is going to provide you every single bill that we as an organization are
the attention that
give me some feedback. If you're not speaking,
how everybody talks about actually.
how about that? There we go. Is that better? Fantastic. So it's going to cover every single bill that we as an organization are tracking. And I want to provide just a quick update because we do have a call to action, an active call to action right now. So if you scroll through this, there's a whole bunch of bills from the seat belt. I mean, the native language assessment in public schools to there's one about, what is it called? The Child Safety Alarm Act. We're watching all of these and see how they're moving through session. But the one that we're most interested in is this top one, and that's House Bill 419 and Senate Bill 1282 by Representative Grawl and Senator Harrell. This is what we're calling our early learning and early grade success bill. All of our partners, we're part of the Early Childhood Consortium, and that includes a variety of partners, including the Association of Early Learning Coalitions, the Children's Movement of Florida, the Florida Association of Children's Services Councils, and a host of others. And this particular bill it's been moving through the House fairly rapidly, and you can kind of see it's passed its first two committees so far, and it's getting ready to go into its third committee reference, and then it'll just have one more to get through before it'll be seen by the full House. And for those of you who are into the legislative process, you may recall that last year, I'll come back there. Last year, this version of the bill passed the House, but it did not move in the Senate. And we were a little concerned that was happening this year as well. But fortunately, Senator Gruters, who is in the Sarasota district, so Flora, I see that you're on here. He has got it agendaed for next Tuesday. So we do have a couple of calls to action. The first is if you can speak on behalf of your agency, I'm going to pull this document up here. It's called an appearance record. And I'm going to also drop the link into the chat. If you're able to speak on behalf of your your agency, we would love for you to fill out this document and then return it to me. And then I'm going to take them down. The way that the Senate is doing appearance records for if you wanted to just waive in support of this particular bill, you have to turn it in. You literally have to hand deliver it. The House is allowing everything to be virtual. The Senate is doing things a little bit different. So again, if you can speak on behalf of your agency, not FLACY, Chris is going to be at this meeting. She's going to waive in support for this good bill. But if you can, I see Heather's in the audience. I see Flora's in the audience. Jen, right? If you're able to complete one of these and return it to me, I'll get it turned in for you. And what it will do, you don't have, if you're able to participate, fantastic in terms of watching it virtually, but you don't have to. In essence, what we can do is enter your name on behalf of your agency in support of this bill so it continues to move forward. The second thing that we're asking you to do, and I'm gonna pull this up, and hopefully when I hit my share screen, it's all gonna work out fantastically. We created a one-page document that explains the need for this particular bill. And you can see down here at the bottom, if you zoom in on that, that these are all of the partners that have approved the content on this one pager. We're asking that you reach out to members of the Senate Education Committee. send them this document and ask them to vote in favor of this bill, and that let them know that you are a resource to help them understand why there is a need for this bill. So that is the ask, that you reach out to especially if they're in your district, asking them to support this. I'll also drop this in the chat and send it as a follow-up to everyone who's here today. But we do also have a overview bill. If you're kind of like, hey, what does 419 really do? We've broken it down, thanks to our partners over at the Association of ELCs, about what it actually does. And so we are completely in lockstep with our partners, thanks to Erin. And I can't tell you everything that's in each of these sections or answer many questions, because that's really her cup of tea and not mine. But I can tell you that this is our call to action, is to get this one pager in the hands of every member of the Senate. And then the following week, we're going to be shifting over to the House, because the next committee of reference for this bill is the House Pre-K through 12 Appropriations Subcommittee. And we have to get it through that subcommittee before subcommittees stop meeting. So that's going to be the next ask.
Ali, there's a
Yeah.
quick question in the chat. What do you mean by agency? Is it like ELC of Broward, your own agency?
Correct. So if you are able, so where you work, so we don't need anybody to submit a card on behalf of Flacy, because Chris, our executive director, will do that. What we need is if you are able to speak on behalf of the agency that you work for, the organization that you work for. So for example, I see Heather in the audience, Jack and Jill Center, right? Lynn Gibson, on behalf of the center that she runs, or even potentially FCCH, which is also one of our partners on this. So if you have the authority, I don't want to tell anybody to get up there and say, hey, I'm a teacher at Gingerbread Preschool, and you don't actually have permission to speak on behalf of Gingerbread Preschool. So just, you should know that yourself in terms of if you have that authority. If you want to go on record and just say, I'm a preschool teacher in Pinellas County, and I'm very supportive of this, that is a way to get engaged. But the better opportunity for you there is to contact your legislator. And I thought I had the Senate committee pulled up. If you give me just one moment. I do. Here it is. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. Thanks for bearing with me, guys. This is the Senate Education Committee. It's kind of small, so I'm just going to read their names. We have Senator Gruters, and he is Sarasota. We've got Senator Chev Jones, big buddy friend of mine, Broward, Miami-Dade. We've got Lori Berman in Palm Beach. Senator Bradley, who is newer to her role, Florida's Gateway, Nature Coast, North Florida. Senator Broxton over there in the Panhandle. We've got Senator Diaz down in Miami. Senator Hudson, which is that's a great powerhouse right there. North Florida Flagler Volusia. Pasadomo, and this is a really interesting one. Pasadomo is incredibly powerful. So if you have a relationship with Pasadomo, while she's on this committee, she's also going to be on some of our other committees that we're going to be reaching out to. We want to know her thoughts and her feelings on this bill. We also have another newbie, Senator Scott Polsky, and then a regular mainstay, Senator Thurston, as well. So our ask right now is, if you live in any of these areas, or even are congruent to any of these areas, that you reach out, you send them that one pager that I'll drop in the chat in just a moment, and you ask them to vote in favor of this bill next Tuesday. You can't actually tell them, you can't lobby, you can't say vote yes. You can say, there's a bill coming up next Tuesday, and I'd like to share some information with you about it. That's what you can do. And otherwise you have to register as a lobbyist. You don't want to do that. So those are the things that you can do. Do you guys have any questions for me about this?
Holly, how are you?
Hi, Flora.
How are you? So anyway, I do have that form and I will send it to you. I've had it since our last meeting and that's great. What I think many people will need, especially all the new people who are joining, and we have talked about this before, it can be a little bit intimidating. I have attended a few meetings, have gone to a couple, and sometimes I still hesitate to make a mistake, but I'm there. I already sent a preliminary email to Gruder's office to introduce myself when we talked a few weeks ago. So I started that reach. But if you can help us a little bit with where can we participate if our agency tells us that we can participate? How do we log in? When are the dates? A lot of information is in the website. What you have put together with Chris on the FLACY website is like a Bible. And you go there and you read it and you learn so much and you follow the links and it's phenomenal for us. It's a training page. It's great. But what I think I need and many people will need is those dates. How do we log in? Do we to see those bills in action so we can start feeling stronger about our participation, in the action plan. Mm-hmm.
I fully appreciate that. And this is what I'll say about the legislative process is that it moves fast. And so if you want to be engaged in this, we do our best. We update this page twice a week, at the beginning of the week and closer to the end of the week, as we know things get agenda'd. As soon as the links become available, we send them out via email. One idea that I'm just going to toss out there, and sorry to hijack the agenda on you a little bit, but one idea is maybe we set up like a WhatsApp group that people can subscribe to, and that so I only suggest
That's a great idea.
We did this with our new members. I'm calling it the new member squad or the newbies squad. And that'll come full circle in a few minutes. But basically we set up this WhatsApp group so that we can all stay connected to one another. It's it's just a text chat group so that we can send different information out and share it with one another. But that might be the way that we can say, hey, this bill is up. If you want to be added to this group, like this is the code, this is how you get onto it. That might be the solution for sending out the links quickly, because we are sending them out via email, but I get it, right? Like how many emails do you get and when you're in the field that we're in, how often are you actually sitting in front of a computer to be able to get those emails that say, hey, it's up. For example, this bill that's up, 1282 next week, it's at 12:30, but when you look at that full agenda, I'm not lying. I think there's 18 bills on it. So the last thing that we need to ask you guys to do is to be logged into the Florida channel, watching something to learn about how things are going. And what if they don't even get to it? What if they TP another bill and they just never even take up this tab? Currently on the agenda, it's the very last item. Does that mean that legislators go item by item by item? No. So we'll share the documents that we have. We'll continue to send the emails. And Jennifer, if you want to set up a WhatsApp group, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, if most folks,
remind or group me.
Yeah,
or
if most folks are interested in that, perhaps we could do like a census and just get an idea of who's interested, and then we can definitely do something like that. I think that'd be great just to stay up to date with things.
That will be wonderful. Thank you, Holly, and thank you, Jennifer. I would love that because it keeps us on our toes, and then we can move forward with you.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
definitely.
Great. So you will
and I see some folks who are interested in, so perhaps, maybe we can save the chat and then we can make sure we get in contact with some of those folks to add them on there.
Do you need our cell phone numbers or something to have that WhatsApp?
Yeah, it would be with your cell phones. Yeah, but we'll if there's enough interest and Jennifer wants to set it up, she'll send it out via email that you can kind of opt in that way. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Awesome. Perfect. Where are we? I'm a little lost right now. Hold on.
Okay, I'll go back to the PowerPoint. Sorry about that.
It's okay. No, thank you, Holly, really for sharing all of that in, around the policies and everything that's currently going on right now. We have about 30 minutes or so left together, and maybe we could do it this way. How many of you had an opportunity to participate in the public policy forum with NACI this year? Just by a show of hands, perhaps a reaction. For those of you who participated, if you don't mind just taking maybe like, this is your 45 minutes of pitch of sharing what was that experience like for you. And for those of you who didn't have a chance to share, perhaps you can just type it in for others who would like to potentially join for next year. You have an idea of what you might be able to get out of it. Lynn, do you mind if I pick on you? I saw you put your hand up first.
That's
Uh,
I was blessed to be in a couple of them, so that was kind of interesting. Um, I I think the one I appreciated the most was the one with Charlie Crist, David, that we dealt with. Finding out about his family relationship, to how childcare related to him, and I know Chris personally, he likes to be called Charlie. It's kind of funny the way he does it, but that's what he does like to be called. He tells you, don't call me that, call me Charlie. Um, he has always been that kind of person that you could go up to and talk about anything, and he listened. He's showed up at small little group meetings where we had 20 providers and sat and talked with us for 20 minutes, in the middle of a day. So he's a good person. And it was nice to know that we were getting the word across. But again, he was already somebody, I believe, that was for the bill. So prior to us even speaking to him, sometimes I think it's better if we try to hit the harder ones that we know aren't for the bill,
yes.
and work on them. I do want to throw something back real quick about 419. I actually have submitted something to Growl in regards to the bill. Personally, myself, 38 years of a family child care provider, and we have no voice on ELCs. It's a for-profit position, and they continuously try to put centers in because they say, oh, family child care can't make it in the middle of the day. We have a problem getting them to sit on the board. We need a voice. We're totally different. Everybody knows that. We have different statutes. We have all these different things to represent us, but yet we don't have a voice. And I think I shouldn't be representing a center, and a center shouldn't be representing me when it comes to a vote.
Right.
As
Yeah.
we are together, when it comes specifically, does it affect me or you? If it doesn't affect you, you kind of say, oh, it's good. But if it's affecting me, I want to be able to say, hey, it's affecting me.
Yeah.
The ELC. So I don't know if anybody's interested, but I would be happy to find my paperwork and send it off and let you all see what I had written, and just asking, basically just changing the wording to make it so it's 2 positions instead of 1, representing child for profit, I guess is what I was saying. So
I'll jump in on
Yeah.
that, Lynn,
Thank
if
you
you
for
don't
that, Lynn.
mind.
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to share that we anticipate that there is going to be an amendment at the next stop in the Senate.
Okay.
And we do know that your concerns have been raised and that they're on that, they're part of that amendment process. I'm not close enough to the issue to tell you if it made it or not. Like Aaron might be able to tell you that. Like, I don't know the inside ball game here, like what's happening, but I do know that came up as part of the discussion. And as soon as that full amendment is hammered out, but at this point, like what we're just trying to do is we have to get this to the chamber floors so that it doesn't die in committee, in essence. That is our goal. Especially we want some of these accountability measures that are that we're working so that we're recognizing quality centers, but using the right measures. And I think that's part of some of the concerns that have been raised before the money from the feds come down, right? Because the last thing that we need is after the federal infusion dollars dry up, that quality centers are not able to sustain themselves yet because of the shot in the arm that unaccredited senators might have received, they are. So there's kind of this balancing act, and time is of the essence. So I strongly recommend continuing to have those conversations with Grawl, or even to reach out to Karen in Harold's office to make sure that your concerns are voiced there as well.
Thank you, Holly, for sharing that. All right. So all right, I think we can continue moving forward. Did I hear someone or? Okay. So around the advocacy meeting that we had last month in February, it focused around racial equity within the early childhood field. And I know Holly dropped in the link for the video recording. So, whenever you have a moment, please feel free to watch that at your own leisure. Like I mentioned, it was a very powerful session. Not just because, I was a part of it, but it really was. It was just very raw. And I actually, just to give at least another person the opportunity who may have participated in the actual session, if you would give, like, once again, 45-second pitch of your reflection on how that experience was for you. Anyone?
I'll be happy to.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Flora.
Always listening to stories, experiences that people share. And these are stories that didn't happen 50 years ago. These are stories that are happening now. And when we think we are living in a society where cultural competencies are obvious and come easy, and then we know that that is not happening. We read it every day in the newspapers. We know what's happening in the schools. But when we hear what's happening to children, to families, the lack of respect or understanding, and it doesn't come from a mean place. Many, many times it comes from a place of just reactive, of what we know from our own past, from our lives. So the stories that we heard on that day is like a stab, and it makes us aware, us as professionals, how we have to be on our listening ears, how directors train and talk to staff, the awareness of that inequality that is happening, inequity and inequality is happening every day, all the time. And these stories remind us constantly that we have to do our job.
Yeah, thank you, Flora, for sharing that. Yes, definitely those personal narratives is something that puts things into perspective. And as you mentioned, it's not coming from a malintent, but oftentimes we don't realize our intent versus the impact that messages or our behaviors have. While it might be with a good intent, there's a deep-rooted impact, when it comes especially to racial equity in our field, in our world. We're talking about 400 years of inequities that have happened, who continue to come to the surface. And yes, definitely now, even though we think things have shifted, there's still so much work to happen. And it all begins with us. It all begins with our own self-awareness. And how do we get into action? How do we disrupt? I'm a disruptor, so how do we disrupt those gaps? How do we disrupt those inequities to really bridge those gaps, to ensure that all children have a space where they feel safe and can be themselves, and families? So thank you so much for sharing. And like I said, feel free to look at the video, and we'll continue in. One of the things that Norma and is all of these meetings that we have, we're going to continue weaving them into all meetings that we have moving forward, because these aren't one-off conversations. Equity, resilience, all of that all ties in together. It's all integrated. So the more really we become aware of it, the more we practice it, the more, what's that word that I'm looking for? the more aware we are and the more we can get into action. So thank you. All right. So race for resilience. And Holly, we have like 25 minutes. So perhaps we can go like super speed through this so we can get to some of the other stuff that we have planned together. And then we can continue, of course, talking about the race for resilience.
Yes, ma'am. So the quick version is this. On the website, we have all this information about our first ever statewide virtual fundraiser, the Race for Resilience, and we are celebrating and honoring you guys, right? And we are engaging community members, businesses, all sorts. But so it's very easy to participate. You just have to go online, click that you want to Race for Resilience, pledge how much you're going to move during the week of the young child in honor of ECE professionals, pay your $21, boom, buy the optional shirt, that's it. However, because you guys are a chapter, I want to tell you about two cool things. The first is an opportunity for revenue sharing. We recognize that chapters across the state are interested in hosting their own fundraisers so that they can support scholarships or special initiatives. So the board of directors and our board committees have been meeting and they're determining what the exact percentage will be. But basically, your chapter has your own special link that people can register for the race through, and that you, the chapter, will receive a percentage of those race registrations using that link. So as soon as I'm done talking and we move on, I'm going to drop that link in the chat, and then Jennifer's going to have it and she's going to be able to share it out with you guys. But if you register through that link, oh, sorry, my phone is pretending like it wants to die. So if you want to register through that link, then you'll get that kickback. In addition, because we're engaging business people, business owners and all of that, if you say you want to find a sponsor, and all of this is available on the website, and you refer a sponsor to the Race for Resilience, they will list your name as the referral source. And then we will come back to you and say, hey, Jennifer, we saw that you brought in business ABC. Do you want that percentage to go back to your chapter? And maybe you're involved with 2 chapters, or do you want it to stay with the Flacy statewide organization? That's your call. Now, the exact percentages are being worked out. That has not been approved yet, but there will be some sort of percentage. I could, willy-nilly it and, elbow it or spitball it and tell you what that might be, but I'd prefer to wait. But it will be an incentive. It's not going to be something like just 5%. It will be an incentive to get you guys to use your chapter link to invite people to register and be engaged, and to secure sponsors. And I'd be happy after the meeting to stick around if people want to ask questions specific to how that might work and what that link is, etc. Number 2, and this is really where I think it gets exciting and where we're going to go. There are some opportunities for some prizes, but they're like prizes that are like bragging right prizes based on teams. So you don't have to have a sponsor to have a team. You don't have to have a chapter link to have a team. You don't have to have any of that allegiance. In fact, your chapter, if you wanted to, you could form 2 teams and compete against one another. It's not for any money, but it is for kind of bragging rights and some superlatives. Best team name, most active on social, the highest number of participants in a team, the most number of minutes pledged. All of these are going to be some superlatives that we're going to give out. But what that means is that you would have to register your team name, and a team means that you're going to have to commit to finding at least you and 5 of your friends. And so I'm looking here at this group. You definitely have over 5 here, but I also know you, Heather, right? Heather's already got a team for the Jack and Jill Center working. So she's probably, she's going to have to split her allegiance or something's going to happen. I see Renee here. She's part of the newbie squad, but she might decide to be on this team instead of the newbie squad. Not sure. Teams are not affiliated with the cost sharing, the revenue sharing piece of it. This is in essence for fun and to drive people up. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Jennifer because she's got some ideas that she'd like to share. But at the end of today's meeting, I'm happy to stick around if people have very specific questions about the race.
Thank you, Holly. So Norma and I have been talking about, creating an advocacy chapter team. So if any of you, I know some of you are perhaps in other chapters, others are probably doing it with your school, but if you would like to be part of the advocacy chapter Race for Resilience team, let us know. We have some different creative ideas of things that we're planning on potentially doing. Like one of them is perhaps doing like a virtual yoga where we'll really just move our body and really, work on that resilience and that self-care, looking at some other ideas. But before then, we have to come up with a team name. So what we thought about is creating a word cloud, all right? And I'm putting in a link in there. You're going to go to this link and think about, what does advocacy mean to you? And, as words pop up, we're going to look at which are the words that pop out the most. And perhaps we can combine some of these words to create a team name. So we really want this to be a group effort. Whether you're going to be on our team or not, you are all part of it. You're part of this chapter. So just take a quick moment, click on that link, and just type in, what does advocacy mean to you? And then it'll pop up on the cloud. If you need some support, let me know, Holly.
I thought that was up on the screen. Can everybody see that? Are they able to access it?
Let me double check if it's active. Okay,
Oh,
just it's active.
activate.
Okay.
Okay.
No, wait, now you disabled it. Put it
Oh,
back.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Okay,
Is that
and now
better?
show responses.
Okay.
There you go.
There we
There
go.
we
Okay.
go. All right. So I see soul, action, work. Voice. Oh, having a voice. Speak. Ooh, voice and speak is coming out a lot. Determination. Oh, soul work. Thank you, Heather. Ooh, I like that. Soul work. Children. Support. Action. We're going to take maybe like three more seconds. Building power from Angela. Thank you, Angela, for putting that in there. I love these word clouds, how everything just like forms together.
This is really cool.
Especially if you're a tech nerd like me, like this is like totally, the jam here.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, really, and as we look at these words, oftentimes we think of advocacy as just like, we're going to speak to politicians and, we're moving policies and we're pushing paper, but there's so much more to advocacy. Advocacy, and Heather, I love you shared in the chat, the soul work, it's all about that, creating that resilience, searching, what is my purpose? What is it that I want to elevate? How can I elevate those voices, those experiences, those stories? And really, that's what we're going to be looking at today. How can we continue to elevate our voices, elevate our narratives, and really ensure that our voices are heard, not just within, our cities, but nationally and federally. And, if I'm getting dark, I'm in my car. So this is why you might see a background. So I'm turning on my light. Can you see me a little bit better? Okay, perfect, yeah. Perfect. So this is awesome. So we can go ahead and close that up. And what I'll do is we'll save this. So really going into, and when we think of advocacy, and resilience, it also ties into leadership, and why I bring this is such a very powerful quote. And, when we think of leaders, we oftentimes think of like, oh, the head person or the CEOs or the president, and we are all leaders, no matter who you are. Children are one of the most powerful leaders that we can come in contact with, and a leader, and the thing with resilience and all of this is a leader doesn't have to figure out where everyone is going, but they just jump to the front of the line and they support them. They support them in guiding them to reach that destination. Yes, we can share a copy of the PowerPoint presentation, Judith, and for everyone. Holly, if we can move forward. So if you haven't heard of her, Brene Brown, I love Brene Brown. If you haven't seen her, please, look at her TED Talk. We'll see one of the ones today that she has, but just to move it forward, a leader is anyone who takes responsibility for finding the potential in people and on processes, and who has the courage to develop that potential. When we think of leadership, it's all around courage. When we think of resilience, there's courage, there's vulnerability. And how do we get to those powerful narratives to really elevate those voices and experiences? So we start thinking about, what are those 4 skills? Brene Brown had done a study, and she shared, what are those 4 skills that make the best leaders? And I'm just curious, what do you think? What are those skills before we hear from her? Put them in the chat, come off mute. What do you think are those hot qualities that make the best leader? Listening. Great. Authenticity. Ooh, I love that. Being authentic, vulnerable. Oof. Great. Listening, honest, finding commonality. Great. Holly, so if we can put that video up just to hear a little bit from her. Being on the court. Yes, Heather. And really why we're sharing this as well is because all of this is part of that resilience.
Our next guest is a New York Times. Every one of us is a leader in some way. It's not just for people in charge. Like everyone is. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, I think when we think leader, we think like pinstripes and shoulder pads and the C-suite office. And the truth is, I've been in those offices and couldn't find a leader to save my life. And I've been around everyday people that would never identify as a leader and been surrounded by them. So I define a leader as any person who holds themselves accountable for finding the potential in people and processes and has the courage, the guts to develop that potential. And that's all of us. I recently asked John Meacham, I said, what would you say to people who don't think they're leaders? And he said, then you don't understand democracy. We all have to lead. Wow. And so I loved that. I think we're all leaders.
You've interviewed all of these people and you've studied leaders and you try to find patterns. What are a few patterns that you always see showing up in good leaders?
Yeah, this was the shock for me. In fact, this is my 23rd year as a researcher, and this is a 10-year study. And it was the first study I'd ever done where the answers across all of the research participants was the same. So what we asked was really straightforward, from special forces military to creatives to all over the world, NGOs. We asked, what's the future of leadership? Who's going to be leading in 5 years, 10 years, and who's going to be gone? And the answer was, we need braver leaders. And so when we drilled into what does that mean? I love the word brave, I love the word courage, but they're gauzy. Like, what does that mean? Yeah. It came down to 4 skill sets. The ability to rumble with vulnerability. That means when things get uncertain and hard, we don't tap out. We don't tap out of hard conversations. We don't tap out of feedback, giving it or receiving it. Mm-hmm. Second thing is that we really learn how to live into our values. The most daring leaders we've talked to are very clear, not only about what their values are, but also what the behaviors are that support those values. Like, there are a lot of big, fun leadership words like integrity, but like if I walk into another organization and see an integrity like poster with an eagle, like what is that? It's like, what does that mean?
I don't know what it means. You were on Sky Mall and you were bored and you go, it's only $10.
Sky Mall. No, Sky Mall. And you don't know what it means. So these leaders have operationalized it into behaviors that they hold themselves accountable for. The third thing is building trust. talking explicitly about trust, because no trust, no teams, no good work. And the last one is huge. And I learned this from working with a lot of professional sports teams. You've got to know how to reset after failure, disappointment, and setbacks. You got to learn how to get back up when you fall, because that's part of being brave.
Today is Veterans Day, and I know
Thank you. Thank you, Holly. You know, that last one, yes, we can definitely share a lot of the resources that we're sharing on here. We'll make sure to do a follow-up email to have the links to the videos, as well as other articles that, you know, we compiled together to really put this together to support you all on building your resilience and yourself as leaders. And, you know, that last one around failure, failure, oh, I had to learn failure a lot of times, but those failures are those opportunities of growth. And that's what gives us that resilience to continue going. And when we think of resilience, there's so many words that pop out, but resilience is what gives people that emotional strength to cope, with trauma, adversity, sorry about that, hardships, and resilient people utilize resources, strength, skills to overcome those challenges. Yes, persistence, it's about continuing. And those are the skills that we also instill in our children in very young ages. So children are also learning from us, the educators that we work with, our team members, how do we also support each other to be resilient? Which I'm super excited about this race for resilience, because this is what it's all about. It's about elevating ourselves. Yes, preservation, wow. Can someone help me with that word right now? Because I am drawing a blank on how to say that word.
Perseverance.
Thank you so much. Perseverance. You see, I continued going even though I stumbled. And just continuing to look at, Brene Brown has this powerful quote, sometimes we have to do tough things and feel our way through tough situations. And we have to feel those tough emotions. There are going to be moments where we might just sit there and be like, oh my God, I'm down with, I have no staff. I don't have a director I need a center. I don't know what to do. The water pipe and, just got hurt, and in those moments, we might just have to sit down and really feel those things and then be like, okay, now that I felt it, what can I do to get into action? What can I do to continue moving forward and supporting others? And supporting myself on top of everything. This work is draining. It can be very, very draining on us. And in the next slide, these are just different ways that we can we're not going to go through all of them. We'll share the link with you, but these are just 10 different ways that we can develop resilience, and one of the biggest ones, and we started off on this, it was Renee who mentioned the self-care piece. Taking care of ourselves as educators, as early childhood professionals, we give our life. We give our life to our families, we give our lives to our schools, we give our lives to anyone who come in contact with us. We're very giving people, but we don't give to ourselves. Oftentimes, I'm guilty of it. How many of you are guilty of that as well? You give, but you don't give to yourself. So taking those opportunities to also provide yourself with self-care. Know what is it that you need to continue moving forward? For me, it's like writing. I love to write. So I'm always writing or reading. Think for your own selves. What are those things that will give you that extra resilience? And I know we're coming close on time, but I'll kind of go through these different last points that we have here. Resilience is more available to people who are curious about their own line of thinking and behaving. And what this all means really is being curious about our fears. Sometimes we're so fearful of taking that next step. Looking at, what's going on? What am I feeling? What's driving it? What's driving that fear? How am I reacting? Am I reacting or responding? There's a difference between both, and we can have a whole session on that, but we'll save that for another day. Identifying, well, hold on, actually we'll go there. And there's other things that go with that resilience piece, but a lot of it is with resilience, we're always learning, continuously learning about ourselves, learning about our experiences. And with that, it takes courage. You know, these are the 4 pillars of courage. And I'm drawing a blank right now on the doctor's name. So I apologize, but I'll make sure to add this on there as a resource. But this was also Brene Brown. I could tell you, I love Brene Brown. But she had done um, a talk for educators, you know, of creating a daring classroom. So we'll also share that link with you. So you have, this is my blog of self-care. Oh, thank you, Renee, for sharing that. I appreciate that. We'll share that video with you, but really those 4 pillars of courage starts off with vulnerability. Are we being authentic? Are we being real? Sharing who we truly are, being clear on our values. What are our values? What is our purpose? Building that trust, and not just trust with others, but trust within us. There are times where we're not sure if we trust ourselves to take that step or not take that step. So creating that trust within us, but as well as with others, and those rising skills that tie into that resilience piece, learning about other things. And I realized, you know, we didn't have time for this, but this is what I want you all to walk away with. You know, your story matters. And what I mean by this is, you know, what is your purpose? Why? What is your why as to why you're in education? And I'll share very briefly so then you can kind of have an idea of how you can craft your stories. And perhaps next time we meet, we can talk more about this, but as well using these stories in the race for resilience, you know, using these stories to elevate early childhood, to change that narrative. And for me, my story, you know, I started off really young, but where I really got like, this is why I do this, is I had a child. This was before I was a director of a school, of a preschool, and I had a child who at the age of 18 months was already labeled a bully. 18 months was labeled a bully because of the way that he would act, because of the things that he would do. And I couldn't fathom why this 18-month was labeled a bully. And on top of every single time that this child would go into a classroom, there was already a narrative on who he was. The danger of a single story. If you haven't seen that, look it up. So, you know, I was like, we need to do something, you know, because this child, they're not just, you know, there's something going on. There's a root cause as to why this child is behaving like this, or whatever the case might be. So we worked with this child for about 2.5 years. After talking to their parents, working with the parents, the children joining in as well, telling the child, hey, you know what? I don't like it when you do this. Or, you know, why don't you do it this way instead of using your hands? The children were even helping this child. The teachers, finally, we all came together. And finally, I'll never forget when this child came up to me with their big brown eyes. Miss Jennifer, I used my hands and not my hand. And I used my voice and not my hands. Right then and there, that's when I was like, this is why I do what I do. Because that child, now thankfully, I want to say he's in about 4th or 5th grade. That child would have been another statistic. That child would have been another child who would have been in prison. That child would have been someone else who perhaps might have taken their lives. So this is why I do this. Because there are children just like him, just like this child, who need that voice, who need that person to instill that resilience. So as you reflect on your own narrative, on your own stories, think about, what is your why? What is your purpose? Why do you do this? And use those stories. Use those stories to really share, you know, especially during that race of resilience, but not just then, every single day, because your voices matter, your narrative matters. I know that was a lie, but I just want to, you know, check in with you all. You know, any thoughts, any questions? Is there anything you'd like to share? You know, we have about 1 minute together, and I understand if anybody needs to jump off, you know, please feel free to do so. Just want to check in with folks. Any questions, comments? Thank you, Heather. I thought about it. If you know how I can start one, maybe, you know, maybe we could make it happen.
I absolutely know how to help you make that happen. Just FYI.
Thank you, Holly. But really, I want to thank each and every one of you. Know that you matter as well. Your voices matter, and just really think about it. And we would love to hear from you. What is your narrative? Share it with us. We could use that also to not just elevate who you are as a person, but the early childhood field and why it is that we do this. And let's make it happen. Let's boom this out. And it just as a reminder, the race for resilience is April 10th through 16th. If you want to join us on our team, we'll come up with a cool rockin' name, and then just really, we'll just move for resilience.
So I'm going to hang out while people, if people have questions about the race, but before I, go on, I just want to thank you, Jennifer, for sharing that, for sharing some of the things that have inspired you, but also for sharing those resources to help us just be inspired. That's been a theme for me this week. At the beginning of every week, I always start my week with an intention. And this week, it was an old classic quote by Emily Dickinson. And it was, "I dwell in possibility." And this week has not failed to deliver. And I'm so glad that I have been resonating on that throughout my week. And I feel like the universe has blessed me with those stories and resources that you've shared today. So I just want to say thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Ooh. Oh, look, here's the universe.
Talk about dwelling in possibility.
I gave you the universe. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And now hand back for a little bit as well if anybody has any questions. And we'll definitely share those resources as Holly mentioned. We'll share all of that with you all, and also the PowerPoint so you have it and you can refer back to it. So
and I believe that your next meeting is...
Oh yes, thank you for that reminder, Holly.
During the week of the young child, right? It's April 15th.
Yes. Oh, thank you for reminding me about that. So actually one of the things that we're thinking of potentially doing is if we end up doing like a yoga or a virtual yoga or something like that, or some type of other event, we'll make that our meeting. And just, yeah. so just keep that in mind and we'll send out more details.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Awesome. Perfect. All right.
Yeah, because I was going to ask about how the Race for Resilience works that week. And this is all new to me.
Yeah, so it's a virtual move-a-thon. So what that means is that you literally can do whatever your preference is. If you want to pledge your movement, and so our minimum pledge ask is 2021 seconds, which is about 33 and a half minutes. And do that how you want to do it. If your jam is breakdancing, do it for children or do it for ECE. If you want to do a yoga class, if you want to swim, if you want to run, if you want to do it by yourself, if you want to do it with friends, this is really your personal commitment. Talk about that self-care theme, right? How are you going to pour into yourself to pour into others? And then we just ask that you document it through social media. And I'm going to be super Jimmy Fallon-ish and be like, #FlacyRace21. And then like share it online. I mean, it's virtual. It's not like we're getting together. When you have a statewide organization like we do, it's hard for us to all gather face to face to do something really cool. And with the Week of the Young Child being a week long, maybe it is that you coordinate a local event and you do something in your local community. Maybe it's like this really cool virtual yoga opportunity where we're going to get together and practice and breathe and move in honor and celebration of early childhood educators, whatever that might be. It really is.
Or even something like with my toddlers in the classroom.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, because I'm actually
our biggest thing is, so make your pledge, say how long you're gonna move and how you're going, your primary source of movement. So if that is dancing in the classroom or moving in the classroom, shaking in the classroom, whatever you want to call it. Write that down. And then we just ask that you document it on social media. Make sure that you have permission, photo okay, if you're going to use your kids. But hey, that might be competition for a prize, like, because we're going to be looking at those social media posts for which ones are the best. So as long as you use hashtag FlacyRace21, you'll be part of that competition.
Okay, yeah, because I have done a few things in the past where I would prop my phone up to record myself where you couldn't see the kids. So, and you just saw me. So I have done a few things in the past like that. So I'm guessing
Cool.
that would work.
Are there any other questions from folks online about the race?
Yeah. Quick, we'll be sending that via email. If you provided when you registered, we should have everyone's email, right, Holly?
Yes.
So we'll go ahead and send them all this via email. Perfect.
Have fun, Judith. Cricket master.
I'm gonna head out too.
All right,
Nice
awesome.
to see you again, Renee.
Yes, you
Bye,
too,
everyone.
Holly. Bye.
So Jennifer, I don't know if there's a few more people hanging out or not. The other Holly is just random Holly. You can ignore that Holly.
Okay.
I know there's a few more people on, but I don't know if they're just not hanging up yet or
Right.
feel free to interrupt us, guys. In terms of the follow-up, do you have a list that you just like want to form, like an email that you want to formulate, or do you want me to just send you and my preference would be that I send you all the emails that I have and that you communicate directly. That's my preference, but I am happy to help however you want. I'm trying to empower members to take the leadership reins as opposed to Chris and I doing all the communication.
Yeah,
but I am here and I am your resource.
No, thank you, Holly. I'm totally okay with that. And what I can do is just perhaps maybe CC you, or anybody who I need to exactly CC, and everyone else I'll kind of blind copy. So
yeah. So I will send you the full chat so that you have it.
Perfect.
I did take a snip, although you have access to that beautiful word cloud. I'm going to post that on social media tonight because I think that would be pretty spectacular.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then I'll also send you 2 links, the link for today's recording, including this conversation, as well as the other one from last month, so that you have that. And I'll go ahead and drop the RSVP link for the next month, however you want to utilize that.
Okay, perfect. And I see Cassandra has a question real quick about the bill. Cassandra, if you'd like, you can come off mute.
Yes, hi. So I was invited to this meeting because I follow a Facebook group known as Florida VPK Directors. And I posted a question on there on how someone can advocate for making a change within the kindergarten screening assessment that is given to VPK students once they go to kindergarten. And they told me that there is a bill and you guys would be talking about it. So I just wanted some more information. Is that what the bill is for, to make that a change?
So the bill does a lot of things. And when I say a lot of things, it is an 80+ page bill. And the amendment that we anticipate will likely be related to just a couple of different sections. But the issue about the kindergarten screener is 100% on the bill. So if you give me just a second, I'm going to see if I'm able to quickly pull up. I can forward you an email that has the breakdown of, I thought I was going to be able to pull it up really, really quickly. And Jennifer, I'm failing. So I'm going to have to follow up with you, Cassandra, the breakdown of what the bill actually does. And it does look at that screener. There is a lot of concern about the current screener, and the bill would strengthen it and make it more, I don't want to say the wrong words because accountable is not the right word, but it takes into consideration like how long someone might have been with a program before they get discounted. Like, right, like if someone was at your school for 3 weeks and that was it, but that was like what they document, then how come that impacts your readiness rate or your readiness score? All of those things are being discussed, and Aaron Smeltzer is by far more knowledgeable about this clearly than I am. But yes, the bill does address that. So Cassandra, I'm going to follow up and give you that breakdown of all the specifics about what the bill does. And if you don't like the suggestions that are in it, what I'm going to recommend that you do is to document specifically like what the concerns are, and let's set you up with a meeting with Erin and her team, Molly, so that we can get it documented about what those concerns are.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Yeah. How would you be sending me the information? Is it because I registered for the Zoom, so you guys are getting my email from that?
Yes, ma'am. So what we'll do is I'll pull if you'll just tell me verbally what your email address is, so that when I see it, I'll know.
Oh, okay. Yes, it's Cornerstone Academy VPK. So it doesn't have my name.
Okay.
So,
thank you for that. I appreciate it, Cassandra. I'm going to provide the full list of registrants to Jennifer, and she'll be doing the full follow-up with everything that we talked about. But I'm going to go ahead and pull your email out tonight, and I'm going to get that the summary document that we have that I showed on the screen for like half a second. I'm going to get that into your hands tonight so that you can review it, as well as give you a link to 419.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Of course.
Thank you for joining us, Cassandra.
Thank you for having this meeting.
And where are you located, Cassandra?
Broward County.
Okay, awesome.
Oh, we're not too far from each other. I'm in Miami.
Oh, okay, yes.
And I'm really
Awesome.
far from you. I'm in Treeland.
Oh,
Perfect.
thank you guys. Have a good.
Any other questions?
So you guys are having another meeting April 15th, correct?
Yeah, most likely it'll be April 15th. I'm working out some things on my end for the possibility of doing that virtual yoga session or some other type of movement. So that meeting will most likely just correlate with the Race for Resilience. And then we'll have like an official meeting again in May. So if you would like to join us virtually for that day, you're more than welcome to join us and just move your body with us.
Okay,
And
sounds.
I'll share one more resource. The Statewide Advocacy chapter, if you visit flacy.org and go over to the Advocacy chapter, you can sign up to be on the mailing list. So like in essence, it's like joining the chapter. By participating today, you're definitely going to get the follow-up from all the stuff today. But if you sign up, you'll be sure to get any future notices that we might be pulling from.
Okay,
And
so
I'll include that in that link, Cassandra. I'm in that email, Cassandra. I'll say, hey, if you want to be in the know moving forward.
yeah,
And I just made a note to include that in our full email too of resources.
Super smart.
yes, that's really good. I feel like more people need to know about this and what's going on and what you guys are doing, because I'm a VPK teacher, but I'm also a VPK director. And it wasn't until I became a director I really got to see like what's really going on in the back end, you know? So I would love to like share this information with my team and just so many other people, because there needs to be a big change.
Yeah, well, I love it, Cassandra. You know, you're on my bandwagon already. You've been stamped. I've reeled you in.
Club.
Yes, you guys
Now
did.
you got a recruiter for the team, right? Your race
Yeah.
team.
Exactly.
Lacey
Well,
Race 21. Come on.
Well, thank you, Cassandra, really for everything that you do, and just really looking at that to ensure that not just directors know, but teachers, because
Yeah.
it's so important and it impacts them.
Yes.
So
Thank you again. You guys have a good night.
you too.
Night.
Bye.
I think that's us, Jennifer.
Yep.
All right.
All right.
I
Thank
will
you,
close
Holly,
it down.
thank you for all your support. It was great. So
And you did fine in your car.
thank you.
All right.
Every so
I'll
often
see ya.
I felt like if I was a bobblehead, but thank
There
you.
were a couple of moments, right? Like you have the yeah, anyways, we're recording, so I'm gonna stop.
Yeah. All right. So
Okay.
let's can we like minimize this part, the bloopers?
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
All right. All right.
All right,
Bye.
bye.